Hello, Imaginers. This week on the Road to Your Life Imagined, I want to talk to you about getting in the water. So this thought occurred to me last week while we were on a trip, and it reminded me of one of the ways that I started my business. And so I wanted to share that story with you, and then also tell you a little bit about what happened last week in hopes that it encourages you to your life imagined. So several years ago, I was working on my coaching business as simply a side hustle. I still had a full-time job in corporate America, and I had certain timing plans that I wanted to hit, financial goals that I wanted to hit before I actually left that job. And then the universe had a different plan in mind, which was to, I call it, push me in the water. And that resulted in a layoff that occurred at my company. And I had a dear friend at the time tell me something that was so helpful and so encouraging. And it has really served me for so many of the areas that I've continued to pursue for my life imagined. And it was this: Kyla, you simply needed to be in the water. Now, I know that you wanted to swan dive in the water, and instead you're having to cannonball into the water. But all that matters is that you're in the water. And she was exactly right. I just needed to be in the water of my coaching business. And again, for some of us, it takes being pushed in a little bit. So last week, I was reminded of this same concept. My husband and I were spending a week on Marco Island, which is right above the Keys. And my husband wanted to recreate an experience he had when he was younger with his grandfather. His grandfather had rented a boat and taken them to a deserted island. And they found all kinds of shells and all kinds of wildlife that you couldn't really find on the main beaches. And so we went and rented a boat, and we were going to set off and try to find this island. And as you can imagine, this required several things that are, I find, critical on the road to your life imagined. One is spending some resources. So we had to actually rent a boat. There's no way to get to these islands without renting your own boat. And for your business, on the road to your life imagined, whatever that is, if it's changing careers, if it's starting your own business, there might be some resources that you're going to have to expend. And that might be giving up some things that you're currently doing and redirecting them to the new area. Or it might be that you're transitioning into the new area, and that requires different resources as well. So we had to be willing to spend those resources. We also had to be willing to do something we'd never done. So my husband had never captained a pontoon boat before. And we didn't really know if we could find the island. We had to traverse sandbars. We were trying to manage the currents. There was all kinds of animals around, all kinds of schools of dolphins, which was amazing. And so we had to use courage to, again, try something we'd never done before. So we arrived at the island, and it was magical. The water above the Keys is exactly what you've seen in pictures, crystal clear blue with white powder-like sand, and this island was really untouched. So we began to explore and quickly realized that the best shells were the ones that were just about to come on shore. And let me be clear, none of these shells had anything living in them. They weren't anything that was alive. But fundamentally, we had to get in the water. And getting in the water around this island sometimes involved putting your feet in places where you couldn't necessarily see where it was going fully. And so I had thoughts about, what if something bit me? What if I stepped on something? But in the end, that is where the treasure was. That's where the most beautiful shells were. And now I have this amazing shell collection and things that I would have never been able to otherwise find if I had stayed on the main beaches. So on the road to your life imagined, I just encourage you to think about putting your toe in the water this week. What is something that you want to go after, and you could just take a small step and just put your toe in the water? What is something that you've been meaning to do, but you maybe don't want to spend the resources? how could you potentially redirect some resources you have going in one place to move them toward the life that you're imagining for yourself? As always, I'm here to help you in any way I can. Please check out all the free resources I have on my website, kylamartinconsulting.com. And you know I'm cheering you on. Have a great one.